I'd change it. Well, why would you do that? Because I can't stand all that sin, all that corruption, all those problems down there. Said, I'd just change it. Said, well, tell me then why our Father in heaven doesn't do that. Say, oh, well, he loves us, doesn't he? Yes, he loves us. Well, how can he look down there at all of those problems and not change it? He cares, right? Does he feel bad about it? Yes. Remember the story when he talked with Enoch and the pearl of great price? In the scripture where God wept as he talked about the sins of his children? Well, yes, he does, but he loves us enough to allow us to have our free agency, to detach and to stand back and to have us suffer consequences while he wants us to succeed. The number one solution to codependency is to learn to detach. Detach from the other person. That means separating yourself from the other person's behavior and allowing them to be responsible for their behavior rather than you being responsible for their behavior. That does not mean that you withdraw from a person and go into your own world, leave them in their own world, and just ignore the person. That's a lack of love, that's a lack of caring. But as you detach from a person, you still love that person, and therefore you can still help that person to change with the love that you can provide them. Think of this poem not only in terms of your relationship to people that would be non-codependent, but even our Father in Heaven's relationship with us. And it says to let go does not mean to stop caring. It means I can't do it for someone else. To let go is not to cut myself off. It's the realization I can't control another. To let go is to admit powerlessness, which means the outcome's not in my hands. To let go is not to try to change or blame another, but it's to make the most of myself. To let go is not to care for, but to care about. What's the difference? To let go is not to fix, but to be supportive. To let go is not to judge, but to allow others to affect their destinies. To let go is not to be protective, but is to permit another to face reality. To let go is not to deny, but to accept. To let go is not to nag, scold, or argue, but instead to search out my shortcomings and correct them. See the focus? To let go is not to adjust everything to my desires, but to take each day as it comes and cherish myself in it. To let go is not to criticize and regulate anybody, but to try to become what I dream I can be. To let go is not to regret the past, but to grow and live for the future. To let go is to fear less and love more. It's amazing what's in that poem in terms of what we've already talked about. Part of detaching is also, this one is my problem, that one is yours. So you literally identify, this is my problem, that one's yours. All I can do is what's my problem. Number 2, love yourself, love the Lord, love other people. We've gone through the scriptures in Moroni on love, but I'd like to tell you an experience that changed my life. Some years ago when I was serving in Ohio on the High Council there, I'd had some health problems, and I went to my stake president, Carl Anderson, for a blessing. And my self-esteem was really low at the time, and I was feeling like, well, I'm not sure I really want to go for this blessing. The Lord will probably tell me that he goofed and called me the High Council and I'm a jerk. I don't know if you've ever had those feelings before, but that's how I was feeling about myself at the time. And those feelings were coming a lot from the health problems I was experiencing. So I went to the Lord, and the Lord did bless me with a blessing health-wise, which I'm thankful for, but something else happened that changed my life permanently, because he started the blessing off by saying, our Father in heaven loves you, John, and he's pleased with you. And those were two things that just didn't seem even appropriate to say at the time with my feelings. But the Spirit was so strong that I pondered those feelings. And I went back to my home, and for a week I literally pondered those feelings and what had been said to me. And during that next week, the belief that I had that my Father in heaven loved me went from my head into my heart, and I'd never been the same since. I believe many members of the church believe that the Lord loves them, but it's in their head. It's not in their heart. The way you can tell that is when you make a mistake, how you feel about yourself. Because if it's in your head, then you'll tend to have a tendency to put yourself down, give yourself negative self-talk instead of feeling like you're lovable. See, if you love yourself, then you're not affected too much by the negatives of other people. And the key word there is too much.